Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and today I wanted to share with you the beautiful Heart Path Oracle cards by Nadine Gordon-Taylor and published by Bear & Company. This beautiful oracle deck, illustrated with images of animals, birds, insects, plants, esoteric symbols, and transformative myths from around the world, features 53 full-color cards that offer a gateway to the invisible, a gateway into the path of the heart. So the Heart Path Oracle cards come in this beautiful magnetic closure box, which opens up and reveals the deck and book inside. We have a beautiful illustration here on the front, which does feature the same artwork that is on the back of the cards, which is quite lovely. We have a gorgeous guidebook that has full color images within. We'll of course take a deeper dive into that here in the moment, but you know me, I like to jump right into the cards. So the cards did originally come wrapped in plastic, but I've taken that off for the ease of this video, and you can see that the inside tray holds the deck beautifully. There's no lips for the cards to catch under, so if you are a person who stores your decks in their original boxes, this is a fantastic box for that because it holds the cards quite nicely. The cards fit in here with the book on top, and then you have this lovely little package to sit on your shelf. Quite wonderful. So before we jump into the cards, let's take a quick peek at the back here. We have this beautiful illustration of the little bird. It does say that the author and artist of this deck, Nadine Gordon-Taylor, is a classically trained experimental artist who focuses on the animal kingdom and its symbolic connection to humans. So that's quite interesting, and I think you'll see that definitely reflected through this deck. So let's go ahead and jump into these cards. So here we have our first card with acknowledging your uniqueness, embrace what makes you different. And the artwork on this deck is quite stunning and one of the reasons why I was drawn to it. We do have some of the cards that go the opposite way, which, as you know, is not usually my favorite, but I think that how I would work with this deck, I don't think it would bother me because this would be a deck that I feel like I would do a single card pull for. So here we have allowing success and good fortune into your life, part of a greater collective. And look how beautiful that artwork is. Here we have our ancestors with strength, love, and support. Here we have awakening Gaia and her gentle souls, transformative and radiant love. Next we have balancing polarities with compassion and determination. Becoming who you are meant to be, manifesting your dreams. I cannot wait to find out all about the symbolic imagery in this deck, so we will definitely be diving into the guidebook here in a minute, but let's go ahead and take a look at all the cards. Here we have breaking down your constructs, embrace new opportunities, butterfly psyche soul, take a risk, calculating karma, breaking the bonds. Commanding performance, renewing your promises. Here we have another horizontal card with communion for protective frequencies. The connection for take deep breaths. The critical moment for follow your intuition. Elevation for gaining the advantage. Enlightened leadership, listen to the voice of the earth. Here we have the ever-evolving mystery with release the joy. Here we have Genesis, the birth of consciousness, your talent shines. Next we have hang on, wake up your tenacity and determination. Look at that fox in the middle. Like, isn't his face just the cutest? Look at that cute little face. Oh my goodness. Here we have heart mind for transformative space. You make a difference. The Holy Grail with expand your heart and mind. I bow to you, shifting paradigms. Imagination creates reality, go the distance. The intimate dance of belief and emotions, there is strength in numbers. Here we have I who guide you, dare to face yourself. The journey, nothing is as it seems, being true to yourself. Here we have another horizontal card with journey to the miraculous, new opportunities await you. Keepers of the children of the earth, awaken your power. Here we have the key to success with open your heart. Here we have looping, cycles of life and death, Honor, bless, and release the past. Love is in the air. Everything is perfectly balanced. Here we have melody of thought with finding your passion. Mindfulness, stairway to personal power. Here we have mystical self-discovery, taking care of yourself. Place of knowledge and unconditional love. Unlock and release the fear. The power of self. Change of consciousness. Here we have the process of attunement, maintaining balance and grace. Programming your highest intuitions, moving quickly through your current situation. Here we have revelation, sing your song. Sacred spiral with spiders. You are an infinite being. Self-protection with setting boundaries. Here we have slow and steady, standing at the threshold of something new. Soul assistance, soul guidance, unique perspective. I love the mix of wild animals with domesticated animals in this deck. You can see here that we have the owls, but we also have this little world basket of kittens. I just think that's really cool. Here we have the space between your lives. If you can dream it, you can create it. Next, we have spiritual DNA. Serious alchemy is afoot. Spiritual slumber. Now is the time to wake up. Sweet hawks. Profound peace of mind. That's a beautiful image. Here we have swimming between the spaces. Think with your heart. Connect with your light. Next, we have swimming in duality. Laying a strong foundation. Here we have telepathic communication, ancient knowledge. Next we have time waves, being in the present moment. Oh, look at the little, are those otters? I don't know, but they're super cute. Little sea puppies. Next we have the twin energies for reconciliatory union. Strengthen your commitment. Here we have vision questing with karmic forgiveness, let go and let God. There's a whale. I just had to point that out. And finally, we have the way out. Something good is on its way, birthing a new life. So gorgeous artwork in this deck. I'm a little bit unsure about how I feel about some of the cards being horizontal and some of them being vertical, but we'll see how that plays out. I feel like this is a deck that is meant to be worked with very intentionally, very mindfully. I feel like there is a lot going on in each of these cards, and so I'm really excited to dig into the guidebook and see what's going on there, because I think that is really going to be key to working with this deck. Before we dive into that real quick though, I do just want to talk about the cardstock. It is a beautiful matte. It's a beautiful, beautiful matte cardstock, but it is quite a large deck. So let's just pull kind of a standard oracle out here. This is a Hay House Oracle, and you can see, which is a traditional kind of 3x5 oracle. You can see that these cards are quite a bit larger. So we're definitely looking at more like artistic cards to really open up that imagery and to dive in. But before we dive into the book, because I do think that's going to be a big part of working with this deck, let's go ahead and give it a shuffle. I really can't get my hands around it that way, so we're going to have to side shuffle. But I was gonna say they're a matte cardstock, so they actually side shuffle beautifully. I don't mind having to side shuffle when I can get a deck to side shuffle like this that just does a beautiful mix in. So I think that is quite lovely. I think these are definitely cards that are meant to be worked with very intentionally, very mindfully, and so you're probably only going to be asked to pull a couple of cards, I would imagine, to really dive into the artwork and the symbolism that's on each card. So let's go ahead and take a peek at the guidebook now, because I feel like that's kind of going to be key to working with this deck, and I always put the deck in the way. Let's move the deck over here. So this is a 53 card deck and guidebook. Let's go ahead and jump in. Beautiful color production on this book, as you can see. And I do love that the artwork and the guidebook is by the same person. So the creator has done all of the original artwork as well as the write-ups for the cards. And I love that because you really get to dive into what the creator's or the artist's intention is behind the deck when it's the same person. So we have our table of contents here in the beginning, some acknowledgments, a message from the artist author. She says, I have created art with symbols in it for as long as I have conscious memory, seeing myself as a translator, helping others tap into wider spectra of consciousness. My art is a gateway to the invisible, a gateway to the path of the heart. So this is beautiful. She talks about working with animal energy. So here we have a little bit about how to use it. It says there are several ways that you can work with this deck. There's no one right way. So she talks a little bit about asking questions, shuffling, connecting mindfully to the cards. She does have quite a large spread for such a large deck. So we have a 4-card past, present, future outcome type of a reading here. And she does say, you know, just as you would work with a tarot deck, you can use tarot spreads with an oracle deck. And I've done that at times as well. That does work really well with certain decks. So then we dive into the individual cards and the messages within each. We do have a small color thumbnail of the artwork, which is lovely. So if you want to take this book and read it on its own without having to have the deck, that would work. We have the title and the key phrase, a little bit about what this card means. And it does talk about the individual elements on the cards, which I'm very happy to see because I feel like that's really going to be key to working with this deck. Then we have a message for a card and an affirmation, which I love. I love when oracle decks have some sort of a kind of takeaway, affirmation, message, whatever it may be. This often gets incorporated into my journaling, and so I love to see that. So you can see we have that for each of the cards. There is also a small little like emblem kind of pulled from each card, which is fascinating. And you can see that all down the line here. Another thing that I noticed that this book has, which I thought was really interesting, is a glossary, which you don't often see in an oracle guidebook. But it does talk about some of the words that you perhaps maybe wouldn't be familiar with, or that you could take a look at and see how this particular author approaches those ideas. So we have affirmation, Akashic records, destiny, dimensions, frequency. Again, I think some of this might be kind of key in understanding what's going on in the cards, because when we read the glossary from the author's perspective, we're getting an idea of what frequency means to this particular artist and what she's trying to capture in these cards. So I really love that this is in here because it really gives me a good idea, like, how does this author see intuition? So I think it's really wonderful to have the artist or the author, who in this case is the same person, include what kind of their interpretation of intuition is. So I really enjoy that. I love that they've included in that, and that's not something that I've seen, I don't think, in many other, if any other oracle decks. So that's really wonderful. So here we have a little bit about the author. There's also a little thank you message, which is fantastic. It says, thank you for purchasing the Heart Path Oracle cards. My wish is that the cards bring you a sense of comfort and connection in this fast changing world. Remember, we are all here together on the same path. Enjoy and feel the love. So that's quite wonderful. Great little guidebook. I am really interested to dive in and see what the messages are for the cards. So let's go ahead and just give this a quick little shuffle, and I'm going to pull a card and we're going to read from the guidebook because I really want to see what is involved in these messages and what all we can pick up from the guidebook and the beautiful artwork on this card. So here we have vision questing, karmic forgiveness, let go, and let God. That's an interesting one to come up for our sort of sample reading. For one, it's the card that I pointed out that has the whale on it, right? So of course it would come up for me. I also do like that this card came up because it is the one card that I saw that does have reference to deity by name. So here we have let go and let God. I think that's a pretty popular phrase. So I don't know that that is necessarily meant to be speaking to a biblical God. You could certainly replace that word with anything that works for you, that resonates with your particular path. It looks like they are in alphabetical order in the table of contents, so that's quite handy. So vision questing is 110. So we have vision questing, karmic forgiveness. The card you have selected takes place in a vast ancient sea. The sun filters down into the water, revealing an octopus embracing a sperm whale. Two of its legs form a heart around the whale's center. That's wonderful. So we can see that here. A green tubular sea cucumber spirals around the action. Encased and protected by a golden bubble, a dove flies above, viewing all that is taking place. 13 anemones grow and thrive in the warm tropical waters. The noses of the 2 other sperm whales nudge in from the bottom left. I see one. There's one there. Okay, I think there's one back here. 3 little minnows watch from the right. So it does tell us what's going on in the card, which I do quite like. So we have our octopus, our sperm whale, our dove, our 13 anemones, our 2 additional sperm whales nudging down here. 3 little minnows. I don't see the minnows. 3 little minnows. Where are the 3 little minnows? Watch from the right. Oh, here they are. They are teeny tiny down here. Right here. Kind of in the sea cucumber here, which is wrapped around. Okay, so that's really cool. It shows us, talks about what's on the card, what we're seeing. So the message is everything in our visual world is here to teach us something. Nothing appears accidentally. These private underwater creatures remind us to allow the ebb and flow of the cycles of life to be fun and instructive and to see through the murky depths of our hidden thoughts. There is much we do not know about ourselves. Swimming with these animals takes us on a journey into our unconscious. There we find our spirituality as well as our hidden fears and our deepest desires. If you find yourself caught up in everyday dramas, know that there is something clouding your vision. We have layers and layers of past lives and ego constructions that keep us in illusion. Whenever you are ready, you can start clearing these layers of illusion and stop the looping, as I call it, by changing your thoughts. Never blame anyone or anything else for the dramas that manifest in your life. No one is right and no one is wrong. When something feels out of balance, go within for direction. Listen to the quiet voice inside your mind. It is the only truth. Know that you are part of a larger soul group that has manifested here on earth to learn how to stop karma permanently. Be kind to yourself and to those who have manifested with you. Believe it or not, they are your best friends on the other side. You are a brave soul who has signed up for one of the toughest courses of your life. Others have signed up with you because they love you so much and you love them. Never give up or give in to negativity. What you believe in manifests, and what you give out, you get back. Always speak with love in your voice. Your voice is an actual physical vibration that surrounds people and can be toxic and harmful. The only way out of this cycle of illusion, pain, and suffering is forgiveness and thinking from the heart chakra. Honor all your pain and suffering. Honor your dark side, your shadow. When you embrace your shadow, you become whole and strong. Together, you and your shadow can fight off forces that keep you unbalanced. You are stronger than you think. You wouldn't be here in this dimension if you weren't a warrior. And the affirmation is, I am not alone. My dove, higher self, is always flying with me. And the little emblem here is the dove. So that's quite interesting. There's a lot going on in this message. I do wish that there was a little bit more speaking about what each of these animals kind of represent, where we have the animals listed here. It doesn't really speak too much to what all of these animals might represent. But, we could kind of look through the guidebook here and see, what speaks to us. So the flow of cycles coming up through the murky depths of our hidden thoughts. That could be the octopus rising up from the depths, and he has all of these tentacles that can get wrapped around us. That could be, our fears. And you could look at this, yes, he's embracing them with a heart, but it could also be your fears that are kind of coming in and wrapping a hold of you, because this is the card of karmic forgiveness. So the whale energy, to me, whales often speak to spiritual journeying for me. And so I feel like this card definitely ties into that idea of sort of going on your spiritual journey. You're kind of surrounded by your soul family here, which we see through the other whales, perhaps even the sea anemones, kind of reminding you that soul group, your soul family, isn't necessarily just the other souls in your group that are of your same species, right? We can have soul support from the things around us, from the other creatures around us, from nature itself. So there's a lot going on in this card. And I think that for the most part, I think this deck is probably meant to be read pretty intuitively. So kind of taking a look at the card and seeing what you see within it. So given that, let's try another little thing. I tend to use decks like this for single card drawings. where I'm just really looking at kind of tapping into, for this particular deck, maybe that cosmic self, that heart space, that soul space, and kind of seeing what's coming out. So just for fun, let's go ahead and pull a card, and I'm going to kind of take a look at it from an intuitive point of view, and then come to the guidebook, and maybe we'll see just how accurate I am, or not that there's, as she says, there's no wrong or right way to read these cards. There's certainly no wrong or right way to interpret things intuitively. And so, oh my goodness, are you kidding me? I pulled the same card. Okay, because we've already done that card, I am gonna just do a reshuffle. So let's maybe try this way. I don't usually pull cards in this manner, but maybe shuffling is not the way that this deck wants me to work with it. So let's just kind of pull, I'm feeling this one. So here we have Time Wave, being present in the moment. Now, normally if I were to get that card a second time, I would not shuffle it back into the deck and pull again, because I would feel very much that that card has a message for me. And obviously I wasn't paying close enough attention the first time. But since we're trying to do kind of an experiment here and see how the deck works on an intuitive level, you know, using the same card that we already read from the guidebook doesn't really work for that. So let's just take a look here. What do we have? We have Time Wave, of being in the present moment. So we have some little sea otters here, and they all look very content and happy. They're kind of going with the flow of the wave, but we have this big wave that's kind of coming together, circling around into this eyeball. So maybe this idea of really being aware of what's going on in the moment, looking at things right now in the here and now, and not worrying about everything that's going on else around. However, interesting that we have a dragonfly. We also have a flower down here. It looks like maybe there are some ice caps in the background. So we might have this idea of kind of things that are floating beneath the surface. We know there's stuff going on beneath the surface, but that's really not what we need to be worried about right now. What we need to be worried about right now is what's going on in here in the present moment. And this is kind of telling us focus in on what's going on right here. Don't worry so much about what's going on underneath or in the background, because that is not what's most important right now. There's a moon up here in the background. To me, that always speaks to intuition. We have a planet back here. I'm not sure which particular one that is. Also bubbles. Look at all the bubbles. So kind of this idea of a bubble is very momentary, right? It's here for a moment and then it pops. And I think that that is a wonderful sort of artistic representation of being in the moment, because you have to catch a bubble when you make it. And if you don't, it's going to be gone before you even notice it. And so I love that idea of the bubbles in there. We have the idea of being in the present moment, really focusing in on what's most important, remembering that it's fleeting. We only have the right here, the right now. We have these otters being really at home in their environment, really just kind of going with the flow, right? We've got this big wave that's kind of washing up, but they're cool. They're just hanging out. Like this one's sleeping, and they're just going with the flow, doing their thing, because they are very at home in this environment. They know to just kind of go with the flow, float with the waves, flow with the currents, and that's how they work. That's their natural state of being. And so I think that's really wonderful. So really interesting card. There's a lot going on in these cards in terms of the artwork. So let's go ahead and take a look at the guidebook, and let's see how close I got. Let's see what the author has to say about. Again, there is no right or wrong way to read these intuitively, but I'm just curious how my interpretation lines up with what the author had intended, although it is important to note that I do fully believe that whatever it is that I see, that I pick out, is what I need to see and be aware of in this moment, whether or not it lines up with what's in the guidebook. But I do like to always see where the author is coming from. So here we have, a little bit about the card. It talks about the different things that are going on. So it says 3 otters floating on an undulating wave. The young one is asleep in the front. The father in the middle is waking up, and the mother in back is looking directly at us with total understanding of the situation. The 4th otter is off to the right, peering from behind a lotus flower. He is caught up in the drama going on. See, that's interesting. I didn't necessarily pick up on that, right? They're just kind of at home being in their thing. And this little one, he's outside of this little grouping. So we can see that he is kind of set aside from them. He is outside the situation, and maybe he's not going with the flow. So we see there's a dragonfly at the top right in front of the moon, and to the left is Venus. Good to know. A large wave creates a portal with an iris and a pupil emerging out of the center. Numbers outline the outer portions of the wave. I didn't even notice that. Sure enough, there are. Let's go in real close. There are numbers all along the outside of the wave, which is quite interesting. And they are numbered 1 through 73. I wonder if there is some correlation or some significance to that. I would have really liked to know that. The motion of the water causes water droplets to be thrown everywhere. So that's water droplets, not bubbles, but it works either way. So here's your message. If otters have swum into your life, it's time to connect with your inner child. This is because otters are joyful, funny, and a bit mischievous. They always make you laugh. They want you to take risks and adventures, flow with the current of life, and do not get caught up with material things that can burden you. When a big wave is about to sweep you up, stay calm and do what the otters do. Enjoy the ride. One rarely finds otters swimming alone. They love the company of others. Family and friends are very important to them, and they help protect everyone. Otter people possess brilliant imaginations. They always follow their inner muse. Their ideas can be so quirky that they may not be appreciated at first, but when looked at more closely, they are usually acknowledged for their creativity and genius. This card is all about time and how you manage it. Remember, time is only a human construct, an agreement. It does not actually exist. Time appears to have a future and a past, but it's really just a series of continuous nows. You live and function in this present moment, then this present moment, and so on. You can leave the parameters of time whenever you meditate, dream, or have fun. The flittering dragonfly wants to show you a different way to view the current dilemma. It may not be what it seems. Beautiful Venus, the planet of love and relationships, watches over you and wants you to focus on a special connection with someone new. With the number 73 and the full moon, you will surely be successful in manifesting your dreams. Remember, you always have enough time to accomplish miracles. The affirmation is, I am in control of time and it does what I want it to do. And the little kind of emblem here is the eyeball in the center. So that is quite interesting. I picked up on a lot of different things that were not listed in the guidebook, were probably not really the author's true intention. But again, as I said, I feel like with a deck like this, that it's actually more important to dive into what your intuitive hits are telling you, what you are pulling out of the card, because I feel like that is going to be what's most resonant for you in the moment. While it's wonderful to have a great foundational understanding of the cards and where the author and artist is coming from with the artwork, I do think that in a deck like this, it is more about connecting to it, as they say in the guidebook, from a place of heart. So what does it mean to you personally? What do you see? What do you pick out in these cards? And I think a deck like this is really fantastic for that. It has some beautiful, beautiful artwork with a lot going on in each of the cards that I think could really evoke some wonderful messages. I think this would also be a really wonderful deck for some meditation, to kind of just pull a card and sink into this artwork, maybe some path working as well. We can really just dive in and say, okay, here is what is going on in this card. What does the bee say to me right now? What did the intertwined fish say to me right now? What does this big eyeball in the middle say to me right now? And I think that a deck like this works really wonderfully for that. The artwork is quite interesting. I love all the detail. I do wish that there was a little bit more in the guidebook about the kind of meaning behind each of the elements that were chosen on the card. I wish there was a little bit less of the divinatory message and a little bit more speaking to what's going on in the cards themselves and what, you know, the artwork means in a much more detailed way. But that just is probably totally me, because I like to nerd out on things like that. Again, as I mentioned, I also love the mix of domesticated animals with wild animals. It really does kind of speak to that dualistic nature of humankind. You know, we are domesticated animals. You know, we do have a wild nature to us, or a primal side. And I think that that's really wonderful to see that represented through the animals in this deck. I do quite like this one. Again, because of the different orientations of the cards and the different sizes of the artwork, I really couldn't see myself using this in like tarot readings or for large spreads or anything like that. If anything, I feel like I would use this maybe to pull a single card for my main sort of message, and then maybe use a tarot to kind of expand upon that if I felt like I needed more insight. But I feel like this is a deck that really is meant to kind of be more in that meditation space, to really tap into what does the artwork say to you on an intuitive level. This is one of those decks that I feel like really does warrant the name an intuitive oracle deck, because while it is nice to have the information in the guidebook, I feel like it really is meant to kind of allow you to open up and connect to your own inner voice. And I love decks like that because that is definitely a big part of my personal practice, and I really like decks that encourage me to do that. There is so much going on in each of these cards that I think that you could really take some time to dive deep into each of these symbols and what they mean to you in this moment, what message they have for you right now. So that's quite wonderful. And the artwork is lovely. I really love all of these symbols. I really love the kind of mixing and melding of the different aspects, the different sort of realms of life. You know, we have animals and we have plants and we have humans and we have insects and we have all kinds of wonderful things. We have even so much as the stars above and the Mother Earth below. This card is quite fascinating. She has the baboon at her chest, which is quite interesting. We see the alligator here, skulls, the little scarab definitely has a little bit of an Egyptian sort of vibe to it for me. We have all these little people kind of rising up, all the different souls maybe, or all the different lifetimes you've inhabited. Again, fascinating card. I'm really looking forward to kind of diving deeper into these images and really seeing what comes from them, really sitting with them. Again, I think this would be a wonderful deck for some meditation, for some path working. Journaling would be wonderful. Pull a card, sit with your journal, really take a look at each of the elements on the card. You know, what do they individually mean to you? And then what does it mean when you bring them all together into one piece of artwork, as we see here, all together into this one reading, this one card? What does that message have for me? And I think that that's a fascinating way to work with decks like this. So yeah, I'm really excited to work with this one, to kind of dive deeper into it and to really spend some time with each of the cards and these beautiful works of art, to really see what comes out, what connects for me, and how I'm able to kind of connect with my own inner voice through this artwork, which is quite lovely. So that was a look at the Heart Path Oracle cards by Nadine Gordon-Taylor. I want to thank Bear & Company for sending me this deck to share with you today. I would love to know what your thoughts are on it, so please feel free to share with me in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon for more creative tarot for an inspired life.